The first group of session 2 has been working on a long-term strategy for sargassum management in the Caribbean tourism economy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler, and I will be presenting our capstone project, Caribbean Clean Seas. So this is our fantastic team. We were led by faculty advisor Fernando Ortiz and project managers Natalie Madera and Andre Hassini. Our client is Fundación Terra y Marre, which works to address key environmental and social issues in the Caribbean. They're based in the Dominican Republic and have a for-profit arm called SOS Carbon, which provides technological support. And they have asked us to help address the sargassum crisis in the Caribbean. So taking a step back, what is sargassum? A show of hands, does anybody know what sargassum is? Oh wow, that's very impressive. When we started the project, I had no idea what it is, but it is at its core just a seaweed. But depending where it's found, it can have different impacts. So when it's in the ocean, it is a marine ecosystem, but when it's on the beaches, it can be a coastal disruptor. So why does this matter? Starting around 10 years ago, there has been large influxes of sargassum washing up onto the shores of the Caribbean, mainly due to nutrient runoff from various rivers mixed with the warming of the Sargasso Sea. This has caused a lot of environmental, economic, and public health impacts for the Caribbean. In terms of its impacts on the environment, when large sargassum mats are floating on the surface of the ocean, it prevents animals such as turtles and dolphins from surfacing for air. It also blocks sunlight from reaching the coral reefs. In terms of public health, sargassum contains high levels of heavy metals, and also when it starts decomposing, it releases toxic gases such as ammonium and hydrogen sulfide, which have very negative respiratory impacts. In terms of its economic impact, it can get caught in fishermen's nets, it can clog pipes, shutting down desalination plants altogether, and it has a very detrimental impact on the tourism industry. So in terms of the scope of our project, we are not looking to solve the sargassum crisis, but rather we're looking to provide insights into the gaps of sargassum management. So we first looked at the impact that sargassum has on the tourism industry, followed by identifying different management techniques, and this led us to propose certain solutions and recommendations to our client. So in addition to the report that we will deliver to them, we are also going to create a strategic playbook in order to facilitate greater conversations with their stakeholders. So the countries that we chose to focus on are Jamaica, Belize, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Puerto Rico, and of course, the Dominican Republic. We chose these countries because they have high levels of sargassum and also high levels of tourism. And it's also important to know our client has some existing relationships with some of these regions. For our methodology, we started by conducting preliminary research, followed by a market analysis of the different countries. We identified some key incentives and barriers to sargassum management, which ultimately informed our stakeholder map, which I will touch on later in the presentation, and that informed our playbook. So as you might have seen from the Columbia Instagram today, we had the pleasure of visiting the Dominican Republic as a team over spring break. It was incredibly invaluable in informing our research. We met with INTEC, which is a Dominican university, which is pioneering research in sargassum, Fundación Verde Profundo, which is a nonprofit focused on conservation, and Christopher Manzanillo from the Office of Environmental Affairs in Boca Chica. So this on-the-ground research was really great because when you're looking at sargassum on a screen, it's very different than being able to actually physically touch it. And some of us were more adventurous than others. I was a little hesitant to get in there, but Fernando was grabbing it by the fistfuls. And it really brought things into perspective for us, especially seeing the local children who were playing in it. And they were playing in the sargassum because it took up so much of the beach, and they were completely unaware of its negative health impacts. And so that really changed the meaning of tourism for us. We realized that the tourism industry isn't just large-scale hotels and the private sector, but it's really an entire local community. We were able to go out on fishermen's boats and see how it's impacting them and getting caught in their fishermen's nets and impacted the amount that they are able to then sell to the restaurants. It impacts the local people who are working in the hotel. And so we realized that protecting the tourism industry is also protecting livelihoods. In terms of its direct impact on the tourism industry, we saw that there is $29.2 billion in onshore spending in Caribbean nations, which contributes to 80% of their GDP. But sargassum season has been starting earlier and ending later than usual, and we've seen a 57% decline in tourism during peak sargassum season. In terms of some cross-country insights that we've identified, we've seen that the stakeholders have really been advocating for more government intervention, and because it's such a regional problem, this requires joint solutions. So when we ask the question, who is managing sargassum today, we have identified some key stakeholders, including the government, hotels and the tourism industry, tech companies, NGOs, and academia. Through this, we've identified 3 cross-cutting trends, such as there's a burden on the private sector, weak on-the-ground execution, and fragmented ownership. So to bring this fragmentation into focus, we created the Sargassum Management Value Chain Map. You can see the different segments of the value chain are in yellow, and the corresponding stakeholders are in blue underneath. So at present, this is the current state of affairs. Sargassum is detected, collected, and transported straight into the landfill. And as I mentioned before, sargassum has very high levels of contaminants, so it's really important that it is processed responsibly, but that isn't always the case. So based on our research, we have identified this ideal stakeholder map, which is detection either in the ocean or on the shore, collection, and transportation to be cleaned and processed. Once it's cleaned and processed, it can be turned into valuable products such as emulsifiers, bioplastics, biogas, and we hope that this investment into these products can strengthen the argument to invest back into the value chain. So while it's clear that there are definitely areas of collaboration, there are also barriers to managing sargassum, such as fragmented government policies, operational constraints, and high financing costs. While these barriers are pervasive across the different countries, we have identified some incentives as well, such as tax relief for tourism entities, public financing for proactive sargassum forecasting tools, and government-sponsored disposal sites. So giving you a little sneak peek into our playbook, we have identified 13 solution-oriented recommendations, but we've seen that there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for every country. These are in the categories of governance, operation, financing, data, and education. And doing a double click into one of our recommendations in the governance area, we would recommend implementing a sargassum management task force. Grenada does a really good job at this at the moment. They have the GNST, which is the Grenada National Sargassum Task Force, which brings together stakeholders from the public sector and the private sector for international funding and technological support. Belize is also a great case study. While they don't have a national sargassum task force, they have facilitated really great collaboration, and they even have 5 designated sargassum disposal sites. So looking ahead, we're aware that this problem is only going to get worse. So we have created this strategic playbook for our client in order to facilitate collaboration, catalyze action, and create a more resilient Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I do have a question about the recommendations. What would you say would be the most feasible, the most high impact recommendations that the organization can implement right now? I know you're talking about long-term strategies, but what are some of the highest impact recommendations that you have right now?
Yeah, so in our appendix, I can actually show you. So these are the 13 recommendations. And the longer bar charts are the number of countries that would benefit most from these recommendations. I think some of the most easily applicable ones is probably legally classifying sargassum. When we were meeting with different stakeholders, we were shocked that when we asked, what does sargassum mean to you, or how would you define it, we were met with so many different terms. Some people classified it as, a resource. Some people saw it as a waste. Some people saw it as an organic byproduct. So I think by defining it, that will be a really easy way to then be able to effectively manage it in the future.
Really great presentation. I was curious, was it outside of the scope to look at some of the root causes of why there is so much of it, and provide strategies for reducing just, some of the root causes of the problem?
Yeah, that was slightly outside of our scope. We did, through our analysis, as I mentioned, identified that there's the runoff from the different rivers combined with the warming that's really making it such an issue. There are some solutions that we've seen, such as, trapping it while it's in the ocean, creating barriers to prevent it from washing onto the shore. But the actual root causes wasn't something that we were exploring.
I really enjoyed your presentation. I was curious to know what you think might be the greatest challenges in adoption of your playbook. Where do you think you'll have the greatest resistance to it from the governments or your stakeholders?
Yeah, I think the greatest amount of resistance is honestly just the lack of education. I think people are unaware of, one, that this is a problem. I think they kind of see it as more of a nuisance, but it's truly a problem that the Caribbean is facing. And then also a lack of education on how many negative impacts there are to health, as I mentioned, to the economy, to the environment. And so I think once these stakeholders are educated, it will be easier to get them to work together. But I think education is probably one of the biggest gating factors.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering if you could go into a little bit more detail about your international task force and how that would be structured, how you would try and bring everyone to the table, and what incentives you are envisioning to keep them there, because an international task force of this nature is inherently voluntary. You can't compel them. There are no international organizations that have the legal authority to compel these countries to come together and establish this task force. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you envision this task force being created and maintained from an implementation standpoint.
Definitely, yeah. So it wouldn't be an international task force. It would be a national task force, so within the different countries. And I think some of the incentives are just recognizing how pervasive of an issue sargassum is. And, governments want more tourists in their country. Hotels want less tourists leaving. And so I think there is a common goal that everyone can work towards. It's more just bringing everyone together. And so I think that would be definitely one of the major incentives.